Hello, and welcome to another Behind the Poem story from my collection Between Hindsight and Foresight. This week's poem is about thinking for yourself, self-reflection, and exploring the ideas and your surroundings. The poem is called See. S-E-E is all in capital letters, and there are some plays on words within the poem, like I said see, to emphasize how we need to look and see for ourselves, that we need to pay attention to the things that are around us. We need to make sure that we are exploring and looking into things kind of deeper than the surface. One of the reasons why seeing and looking and asking people to look up are things that I as kind of like a repeated theme within my poem, is because I have a tendency to look up more than the people I'm with whenever I'm out somewhere new, and I quite frequently see things that surprise me or impress me or I find beautiful or interesting as part of the environment that I'm in. And that applies equally to things that you can visually see and things that are kind of below the surface, that are more personality-wise things that we see. So in the first verse, I'm asking people to look outside of yourself, look at your surroundings. The potential is equal for what you find when you look outside of yourself to be good and bad. And that first verse kind of gets us into the mode of looking outside of ourselves, reflecting on what we're seeing, and recognizing its potential, both good and bad. The second verse goes a little bit further, a little bit deeper, and is more about resisting the impulse to just accept what we're told at face value. Way before certain people started bringing up the term fake news, there is always a need, all the way back, to think about the source of your information. For hundreds of years, people have been printing things on paper. For hundreds of years, people have been passing information verbally from person to person in a long sort of rumor mill that is almost never accurate from the moment that an event happens to when you hear about it. So resist the impulse to just accept what you're told at face value. It could be accurate, it could be true, it could be factual, but the important thing to remember when you are seeing with your own eyes is that you investigate and fight ignorance within yourself in order to gain understanding. When I say ignorance, I don't mean stupidity. Stupidity and ignorance are very, very different things. Not having intelligence or not being able to process things in a certain way is not always voluntary. Being willfully ignorant, choosing not to consider ideas, choosing not to investigate or see something for yourself, being ignorant, and worse, being willfully ignorant, purposely ignoring things or purposely ignoring ideas and ways of investigating so that you don't have to face inconvenient or uncomfortable truths, is possibly the worst sin anyone can commit. If you are going to believe something, if you are going to think something, you should absolutely positively look at all possible interpretations of what you're thinking. Because if you don't, how can you claim it for your own? And if it's not yours, you're just parroting or repeating what someone else said. It doesn't belong to you, it belongs to them. And so it's really important that we fight ignorance within ourselves, that we prove to ourselves that this idea is part of who we are because we have looked into it and we have explored it and we have considered it. We've considered the source of the information and the idea to make sure that it's something that we can be comfortable with claiming as part of our own set of beliefs. The third verse encourages you to go outside, go outside from looking in to how you are seen by others, considering and reflecting how your actions and words and your thoughts, how those things affect how you're seen, what other people think of you, not necessarily because you should care what other people think of you, but so you know how people see you, so you know what people think of you, to be sure that that's how you want to be seen. If you want people to think of you as a good person, but your words and actions, your beliefs, the things that you have done have caused people to not think of you as a good person, well, is that because it was the right thing for you to do and they just disagree with that? Or was it because you did something stupid that you didn't think about before you did it, and now the consequence is that your reputation has gone down, or that people's opinions of you, previously high held, are no longer high held? So the idea that we try to see ourselves through other people's eyes to decide whether the way they see us is how we want to be seen, or whether the way they see us is incorrect, so we try to communicate how we actually are to that person, or whether that matters at all, whether they're misinterpreting, or whether they need to be corrected, or whether they need to be shown the right thing, whether that even matters at all. Because obviously, if you're amongst people that don't agree with you, whose values you don't share, then how they see you matters less, because you're doing what you think is right based on your own internal reflections and your own investigations to make up your own mind. So if you've done that and still they don't see you how you would like to be seen, then clearly you're not amongst the people that suit you best. If, however, you've made a mistake and somebody sees that mistake in you and judges you for it, you can, and you want their opinion to change, you can then go ahead and make efforts to change that opinion. But you can't make efforts to change someone's opinion if you don't know what that opinion is, or whether or not you agree with that opinion. So the last verse of the poem encourages us to consider how jumping to conclusions can be so damaging, how we should look deeper than our appearances, how we should go with both without and within in order to get a whole picture, because ignorance on any level is dangerous, and decisions should be made when you're sure that you understand, like, which that you understand every aspect of a decision that you're making, the possible outcomes, the possible implications for how you are seen, how you are looking. And if you don't make a decision based on full understanding, you won't be able to know why you did it. You won't be able to understand it if you don't look into it for yourself. And so, this idea of seeing, I said see, making sure that we look outside of ourselves, making sure that we look inside of ourselves, making sure that our decisions are based on what we know for ourselves instead of what other people tell us, is very important. And I think more important now than it's ever been before. So have a look around you on a basic kind of physical level. Have a look within you. Think about what you're told. Think about what is said to you. And make sure that if anyone in the whole equation is ignorant, that it's not you. Because then you can feel happy and satisfied in your decision that you are making the best decision you can for the moment. Thank you for listening to another Behind the Poem story. When you read the poem, it may seem like everything I've been saying is a little bit much for such a small, slightly random poem, but that is the feeling and emotion and intention behind it from me. Whatever you get out of it, whatever you see, that's entirely up to you. Have a good day, and I'll see you next week.